Hey everybody, it's your Sam and I'm here again with another video. Today's video is going to be about what scenes to cut and what scenes to keep, and to identify filler scenes or filler words and sentences. I hope that this will be helpful to you, because when I was researching it and putting some of this into action as I do my transcribing of I'm No Hero Book 1, it's been difficult. Needless to say, just a little bit, and I do hope that this will help you out as it has helped me out. In the description box below are going to be a few links to some of the resources that I used when I researched scenes to cut and how to identify filler and all that good stuff. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. What scenes do you need to cut? Well, the popular vote is to definitely cut scenes that do not move any of your plots forward. They're just there to exist. They're there to, bring a smile on your face or something like that. Those scenes are painful to cut because they can be some of your favorite scenes because they show character growth, or your character's witty sense of humor or something like that, but they don't move anything forward in your book whatsoever. Not a single subplot, not anything towards the plot, or much of anything. And honestly, they probably don't show much character growth either. Now, if you really, really hate the idea of cutting a scene, work it into another scene. See if you can't combine it. Show some of that witty banter in the middle of the battlefield, which would be funny to me, and I want to see more of that. Just saying. Another scene that you need to cut are scenes that exist just to introduce a character or introduce a setting. Again, these scenes do not move the plot forward whatsoever or any of your subplots, but they're just there for the reader to get a sneak peek at something that is coming up, or to get to know a character a little bit better, or to see a setting that's going to be important in a couple of scenes down the road. Not necessary. Cut it out. Get rid of it. Another thing is scenes that move only a subplot forward. Don't necessarily cut these, because moving subplot forward is important as well, but maybe try to combine them with another scene so that that scene is more impactful. It moves both plot lines forward for you, and the reader can get more enjoyment out of it, and your scenes and chapters have a few more layers than just moving one thing forward at a time. Another thing that you can cut are repetitive scenes. I've seen this a lot in some romances and some action books, and of course fantasy books, where there's this scene that appears 3 different places in a book. A kiss, a battle, the use of a particular form of magic for healing purposes or some purpose like that. Now, while these scenes are dramatic and they do entice the reader, the scene is in there in the book once, you don't need it again. So change up the battle scene, change up the kiss scene, change up the magic use scene. Make it more important for another plot point. Make it more impactful in another way. Combine it with another scene so that you have those layers and it's more impactful and more interesting to your reader. I honestly do see this a lot in most battle scenes. I get it, I do. Battles are very similar in nature, or they can be, but there are changes that you can implement so that it is not as repetitive, and it can actually show some growth, something new and something else in that scene if you change it up a little bit. I gotta say, I gotta say this. I probably should have said this at the beginning of the video. Each scene should have three things. One is a goal or a reaction that is needed in order to move your plots forward. Two is a conflict or dilemma that is keeping your characters from that goal or reaction that is needed. And the third thing is a disaster or the decision that leads to the goal being reached or not reached. And yeah, if a scene does not have those, or just has one or two of those, maybe you need to cut it. Maybe you need to combine it with another scene so that all your scenes have all three of those aspects. So some of the things that can lead to filler are some minor characters. That's kind of number one filler thing right there. There are some minor characters in some books that I have read that could have easily been combined to form one awesome minor character that is multifaceted, like most people are, instead of just being 2D or even 1D. And that is a lot of filler there. You're writing an extra character when you don't need it. So take a really close look at your minor characters. Are there two that sound a lot alike on the page? They act a lot alike on the page? Or is there a character that only has one dimension or two dimensions, and there's this character over here that only has one dimension or two dimensions? Combine them. Mold them into a more fulfilling person and that can lead to a more fulfilling read for your reader. Another piece of filler that I see in a lot of scenes is starting the scene too early. I've seen a lot of scenes that start in the morning right when the character wakes up, but the action doesn't start until dinner time or even later. And that's just a lot of minor actions and conversations that didn't really need to happen, that I didn't really need to take the time to read. So start your scenes as close to the action as possible. Another thing is when characters drive from point A to point B, or travel from point A to point B, or something like that. There's a lot of, she got into the car, she drove to the end of the driveway and turned right to drive to the stop sign and stopped to let ducks walk across the street. And then she continued on her way to town to where she pulled into the parking lot at work. She locked her car, turning around to yank on the handle a couple of times just to make sure it was truly locked. She didn't want it broken into again, like, 2 weeks ago. And then she walked into her office, and upon entering, she waved to the secretary. You don't need all that. That's just, it's yeah, it can be poetic, it can show the setting, and it can show the attitude that your character is in, but you honestly do not need all of that at all. It's kind of boring. It's filler. I'm going to leave you with a couple of nuggets, and these are two questions that I ask myself when I'm evaluating every scene and every chapter that I write, or that I'm rewriting right now for draft 2. What purpose does this scene have? If I cannot answer that, and if it does not move any of my plots forward, then the scene has to get cut or combined with another scene. If I remove this scene, will it affect the novel at all? If I remove that scene that I'm looking at right there, and I'm studying it and I'm analyzing it, and if I remove it and it doesn't change anything in the novel once it's removed, then it just needs to stay out. It doesn't serve a purpose. Now, this is a caveat. I do keep all of my deleted scenes. I do this because every now and then a deleted scene has a little nugget of information, like a hair color or something like that, that I can use in another scene if it becomes important. If not, I just leave it out, and it's not important. It's not needed in the book, and that's okay. This is some of the hardest things that I've had to deal with in my rewriting, is cutting out scenes, cutting out darlings. This is the epitome of killing your darlings, because there have been 2 scenes in particular that I can think of right now that I have cut that literally broke my heart to cut, because they didn't do anything. They just served my need to see those characters in the midst of that particular action or in the midst of that particular conversation. Hopefully this video has helped you, and if you like videos about writing related content, dealing with depression and anxiety in this world and whatever tickles my fancy at the moment, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. If you like this video, got anything out of it, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. And yeah, I do have a few links in the description below to some resources that I've used in order to help me cut out scenes and cut out filler, and hopefully those will help you as well. If you have any further comments or ideas or suggestions, go ahead and drop them in the comments down below, and let's have a discussion. Let's help each other out. As always, be kind to one another, stay safe, and keep being creative and keep writing, and I will see you in my next video.